a national championship, a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, and 22 players drafted into the NFL. What if I told you that wasn't Florida State at its best? While the 2013 and 14 seasons marked a historic 2-year run for the program, there was a time when Florida State was unstoppable. But when did this glorious era of Florida State football begin? Bobby Bowden faced the challenge of restoring a Florida State football program that had lost its way since the Bill Peterson's time in the 1960s. Peterson's teams compiled a solid record of 62 wins and 42 losses and 11 ties. They made 4 bowl appearances, but the program struggled to maintain that momentum in the years that followed. During Peterson's tenure, he took a struggling program that was only 14 years old, previously a women's college, and built it into a competitive team capable of playing against top schools. Even the University of Florida, which had once refused to play FSU, began to take notice. However, after Peterson's departure, the Seminoles endured a turbulent period marked by back-to-back disappointing coaching stints, leaving the program in desperate need of a turnaround. Larry Jones, appointed as Florida State's 6th head coach, led the team from 1971 to 73. Despite initial promise, his tenure ended with a 15-19 record, making him the 3rd coach in school history to leave with a losing record. His successor, Darryl Mudra, was even worse. Hired as the 7th head coach, Mudra's time from 1974 to 75 saw an abysmal 4-18 record, including a winless 0-11 season in 1973, the lowest point in Seminoles history. By the time Bobby Bowden took the reins after coaching with West Virginia, Florida State was in dire need of a leader to restore its winning tradition. And to be honest, expectations couldn't have been lower. In his first season in 1976, Bowden led Florida State to a 5-6 record, a modest improvement, and still the program's best finish in 4 years. For a fan base starved for success, it was a step in the right direction. And in just his 2nd season, Florida State went 9-2, capped off with a victory in the Tangerine Bowl and a number 19 national ranking. The highlight of this year, a dominant 37-9 win over in-state rival Florida, the Seminoles' first win over the Gators in a decade. Despite rumors that Bowden might leave for another job, he reassured fans that he was in it for the long haul, reportedly telling an athletic department employee, "I'll never coach anywhere north of Tallahassee." His words proved to be true, and Florida State stuck with him despite a handful of mediocre seasons. In 1981, they finished 6-5, followed by a 9-3 season and back-to-back 7-win campaigns. It wasn't yet the dominance Florida State would later be known for, but it was enough to build school morale and spark excitement around a rising program. As Florida State football gained momentum in the 1980s, school spirit grew, laying the foundation for one of the most tradition-rich programs in college sports. Some of these traditions included Chief Osceola and his horse Renegade planting a flaming spear at midfield, while fans known as the Tribe energized the stadium with the FSU fight song, war chant, and tomahawk chop. The Legacy Walk honors the program's history, and the team's uniforms featured tribal-inspired designs with symbols like arrows, a horseman, and fire. At home games, Seminole Wind plays at the start of the 2nd quarter, uniting fans in pride and tradition. The war chant debuted in 1984 in a game against Auburn. Its melody, based on the 1960s cheer called Massacre, quickly became a staple of Seminole pride. Later, it even spread to the Atlanta Braves thanks to FSU alum Dion Sanders, and it even remains synonymous with both teams today. At the time, Florida State was a respectable program, but under Bowden, they had become the most consistent and successful program the school has ever seen. Letting him go simply wasn't an option, and it's a good thing they didn't. By 1987, everything seemed to click. Florida State was on a rise, and it became clear that Bowden wasn't just an average coach. From 1987 to 2000, Bobby Bowden turned Florida State into one of the best teams in the country. During this span, the Seminoles not only won at least 10 games every season, but also finished in the top 5 of the AP poll every year. These achievements led to national championships in 1993 and 1999. Although Bowden is crowned as one of the most winningest football coaches of all time, this success wasn't built on his own. Thanks to the increased emphasis of modern recruiting tactics, Florida State was able to attract some of the most talented athletes in the country. Running back Greg Allen, who played from 1981 to 84, rushed for over 3,700 career rushing yards and 44 total touchdowns. He was Florida State's all-time leading rusher until Warrick Dunn broke it in 1996. Shortly after, Dion Sanders would arrive.
mobility helps him. It's picked off. That's Dion Sanders. What a broken field runner he is to the 40-yard line. Florida State football.
He may score right away. It is Sanders for the touchdown.
Dion Sanders redefined what it meant to be an athlete, becoming a cultural icon for FSU, earning the nickname Primetime. And of course, he's now doing his thing at Colorado. Soon, the Seminoles' dominance proved to be at a whole nother level, joining the ACC in 1992. From 92 to 2000, Florida State either won or shared 9 consecutive conference titles, losing only 2 ACC games during that span. This success was bolstered by standout players like Terrell Buckley, a cornerback who won the Jim Thorpe Award in 1991. And who can forget Charlie Ward, a dual sport athlete who won the Heisman Trophy in 1993 while leading the Seminoles to their first national championship. Then in 2000, Chris Winkie followed suit, claiming the Heisman and securing another national title for Florida State. In the late 1990s, Dereck Brooks solidified his reputation as the conference's top linebacker. He later joined a stellar NFL career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, spanning over a decade, and he even won Defensive Player of the Year. Meanwhile, Peter Warrick became one of the best receivers to come out of Florida State, becoming the 4th overall pick by the Cincinnati Bengals in the 2000 draft. Florida State claimed their second national championship with a victory over Virginia Tech in the 2000 Sugar Bowl, and seemed to be the only team, along with Miami, that could stand toe-to-toe with Nebraska. Florida State was on top of the world. With a deep talent pool right in their backyard in Florida, it felt like they were going to be dominant forever. However, after losing to Oklahoma in the 2001 Orange Bowl, the Seminoles began to slowly decline. Florida State suffered a 41-9 loss to North Carolina, only their 3rd ACC loss ever, and finished 8-4, their worst record in 15 years. The struggles continued in the mid-2000s, culminating in a 7-6 season in 2006, being their worst season since Bowden's first year as head coach, and included the program's first losing record in ACC play. Bowden couldn't coach forever. As he got older, it became harder to keep up with the demands of coaching and convincing recruits to choose Florida State. After all, why would a player commit now if Bowden might retire next year? What would happen to their future then? To address these concerns, FSU implemented a plan. After a 7-6 season in 2007, Jimbo Fisher was named head coach in waiting, set to succeed Bobby Bowden no later than 2011. Signs of progress emerged with a 9-4 season in 2008, but following a disappointing 2009 campaign, Bowden retired at 80 years old. Over his 34-year tenure, Bowden amassed a legendary 377 wins, 129 losses, and 4 ties, including 304 wins at FSU, where he had only 1 losing season, his first. So Fisher took over in 2010. He led the Seminoles to their first 10-win campaign since 2003, and by 2012, FSU claimed its first ACC title and major bowl win in 7 years. The program peaked in 2013, going undefeated and winning the BCS National Championship, led by Heisman Trophy winner Jameis Winston. However, the success was short-lived. Despite an undefeated 2014 regular season, FSU suffered a crushing 59-20 loss to Oregon in the Rose Bowl. And over the next 2 years, the program stagnated. Marked by blowout losses and recruiting missteps, FSU finished 5-6. And Fisher resigned for a coaching job at Texas A&M, leaving with an 83-23 record and 3 ACC titles. Successor Willie Taggart struggled, missing a bowl game for the first time in 36 years and finishing with a losing record in 2018. Accustomed to postseason play, Seminole fans were vocal in their frustration, with many wanting Taggart to get out of there. Their demands were finally met when they made room for Memphis head coach Mike Norvell to take over the program. As Mike Norvell transitioned to the head coach of FSU, this is when legendary coach Bobby Bowden would sadly pass away at the age of 91. Norvell steadily rebuilt the program and led FSU to an impressive 10-3 season in 2022. In 23, despite an undefeated record in an ACC championship, the Seminoles were controversially excluded from the college football playoff, leading to a blowout loss versus Georgia in the Orange Bowl 63-3. Despite the setback, Norvell was named ACC Coach of the Year. But 2024 went down as one of the worst in Florida State's history, finishing with a record of 2-10. Now in the midst of a rebuild, Norvell has brought in former Auburn and UCF head coach Gus Malzahn as offensive coordinator. If the Seminoles can return to their winning ways, it could set the stage for one of the greatest comebacks in college football. But only time will tell.